Hey, and welcome to Elite Rounders Mental Game Corner. This week we are talking about how to deal with a maniac, and this is especially a player type which is ready to gamble, you could say. Well, with almost any two, either like raising a lot of hands or shoving a lot of hands, or in general just playing very aggressively. So I think there's a couple things you want to keep in mind when you're playing against villain like this from the mental game perspective. Of course, from tactical perspective, we probably cover a little bit both in this. But in general, I think mentally you want to approach this kind of like take a deep breath. Probably something you want to do if you feel like frustrated, because like some people say these bingo players, call these bingo players. But yeah, I think it's good to like kind of distant yourself from the player if he's really annoying you. So take a deep breath. Let them spew. That's what they know what to do. So it's kind of like just let them make the big mistake. So you just sit there and wait for the right moment. Like, again, you're not able to play that many hands if there's someone like raising a lot of big raises and going all in. So it doesn't really leave you to play a lot of hands. So you just have to wait. Simple as that. Like, it doesn't leave you with that many options in Hold'em, sadly. Again, Omaha, it's a little bit easier. If somebody just pots it, you can still call, right? But Hold'em, it becomes a little bit harder, I think, if somebody's opening like very huge size. Unless you're super deep and playing cash game or something. But especially in tournaments, it's kind of frustrating if somebody's just opening 4x and what can you do? You can't really flat too many hands. Unless you're a bit deeper. But yeah, so it's kind of like tournament, you just need patience. But again, actually dealing with Maniac, like theoretical perspective, is probably not that hard when it's like 9 max. If you're playing like 4 max, 3 max, I think that's where this could get very like tough, because like it's tough to get like really good hands and you have to play super wide ranges. So it can be very frustrating versus someone super aggressive. So I think that's where you can get easily frustrated, or it's tougher to handle mentally. But like full ring, it's kind of easy because you will still have pretty decent hand whenever you're playing against the player. But yeah, all it takes is like really to just sit back and have patience with him and just let him make the mistake. That's so crucial, because they're gonna make the mistake. And this is also something like if I myself play aggressively sometimes, most of the time. So if you play aggressively, sometimes you think people play back at you and you think this is the moment, but you choose a wrong moment and it's just a guy who's not paying attention most of the time, and they don't care what you do. Like, some players don't care what you do. They just play their own strategy. They just play their GTO ranges. They don't change anything, even if you open a lot of hands. Some better regulars do change their strategy if you open a lot of hands, but some players never change anything, even if you're opening way too many hands, theoretically again. So it's like, sometimes it can be very tough for the Maniac player in a way to recognize if you're playing back at them or not. So sometimes they make these spewy plays. But if you just play solid against him, he might make that mistake anyway. So that's why it's good to have patience with them. Again, yeah, usually they will make one crucial mistake. You just have to wait for it. So again, patience. But like that's the key thing with dealing with Maniac. And yeah, trap them good. So instead of like, if you hit like trips or something on flop from the big blind, for example, I don't think I would actually check raise too many hands as a bluff. Maybe just like let them hang themselves whenever I hit it. It's kind of stupid because like so many times you would just fold, for example. But I think like the time when you actually have it, you're just gonna get paid off fairly easily, I think, because they don't really care what you have. They're just gonna battle off. If whenever it's good card, they're gonna battle off basically. So I think it's fairly easy to trap them. So do that, and maybe maybe if someone else is opening before you and you have the maniac behind you, you should probably trap some hands to like aces, kings, let him like squeeze you or something, and he will overplay his hand. But yeah, it's super important that you just keep playing solid, and you don't start to play with the maniac. Like, don't play his game. If he's shoving ace deuce off pre-flop, doesn't mean you should still call like ace four off, because like you're just essentially flipping here. And just, unless this is like heads up situation, I guess I can understand, like if you want to take like some smaller edges and you just feel like gambling, but like full ring game, you don't need to take like super thin spots, because this guy will give you action no matter what. So you don't need to take like super small flips, you know. So basically what the maniac wants you to do is to start gambling with him, because that he wants action. And when he doesn't get the action, usually the maniac gets a little bit frustrated by it, and he will probably just spew harder. But when he gets action and he wins some pots, that's just like gives him more momentum in a way. So I think it's very important that we keep playing solid. Yeah, and this is more like tactical, I guess. Play therapy, check back a lot of good hands, make sure you have good hands in every situation so you can surprise him and stack him. I think especially versus someone who's so aggressive, you want to make sure that you have good hands in every situation. You don't just like play it obvious. So just whenever, even if you're check calling, you still have like two pair sets, whatever. Kind of make sure that you have some hands you can call down him fairly easily. And in general, of course, if they're maniac, you can call down a bit wider too, because they are probably over bluffing in a lot of situations. So be ready to make some hero calls on certain boards for sure. But yeah, I think that's probably the key to deal with like maniac or crazy player. In a way, I think full ring, it's fairly simple. You just wait for hand. But the shorter the table is, in a way, 3-4 heads up, the tougher it is to deal with the maniac, because you have to play so many pots against them. But in general, patience gets you far. So I think that's good starting point. So thank you for watching, and hopefully this helps you to deal with the maniacs.